people who have found a dead body. What's the story? On my way to work at 3:30 in the morning, I was carpooling with 2 other guys. We were going through Walcott Court. Anyone that knows that area knows there's a lot of woods. Anyway, I noticed brake lights that were illuminated behind some trees, so I pulled over to check it out. It was this red SUV blasting reggaeton. The driver had his head slumped down like he was sleeping. I noticed about 20 open beers in the backseat, so we thought he was just drunk. We started to knock on the door to wake him up while we waited for the cops to show up. About 5 minutes later, a cop car pulls up. Officer goes to the driver's side and turns on his flashlight. The second it turned on, we immediately saw the bullet holes on the side of the driver's side door. In like less than a minute, there was at least 10 cop cars shutting everything down. Was laying in bed watching TV with my GF at the time, and her dad had moved in with us recently. Heard the loudest snoring ever coming out of his room real early, and we almost went to check on him but figured he just had a long night and was exhausted. Got up, went throughout the day, breakfast, chores, all the Saturday morning stuff we do. 2 p.m. rolls around and he still hasn't come out of his room. Had a bad feeling, so I kicked the door in and found him sitting there in his underwear, pale bluish white eyes and mouth open. Apparently he'd gone out with some friends, and they gave him some dope which turned out to be mostly fentanyl. The snoring we heard was a death rattle and he was already dead before we even went to sleep. Was out driving one night in college with my ex. We used to just go on long drives together to talk about stuff and get away from the university. We were maybe 45 minutes into the country under a pitch black sky filled with stars and came over a hill to see 2 red taillights off in a field. It was so dark that was all we could see until we got closer and saw it was a car crashed directly into a willow tree, and the driver was all mangled and dead in the driver's seat, partially out the windshield. We called the cops, but since it was in the middle of nowhere, it took a bit to get service and then a bit longer for them to get out to us. Saddest thing about it was that the driver was a teenager. I typically like to enjoy my cup of coffee early in the morning while I skate around the park near me. On the day after Halloween, I went through my normal routine but come across a body hanging in a tree. At first I thought it was a very realistic decoration, prank, but as I got closer it was clearly a dead body. He had left his bike and a backpack next to the tree stump. I did not feel the need to go through his belongings. I kind of froze up for a second there until a jogger came by and her reaction snapped me back into reality. We called emergency services and they came shortly after and cleaned up. When I told my friends and boss what happened, it took them a while to believe my story since they all thought it was a leftover Halloween decoration. I don't know why the 911 call wasn't convincing enough. I kept looking on the internet to find an obituary or an article related to the situation for proof, but nothing came out as far as I could tell. I was an intern and was looking for aquatic snails off a busy road. There was a path that led from the road down to a river. I had just arrived and was getting my bearings and noticed something against a trunk of a tree. I walked over and realized it was a man who had hung himself. He was in an almost sitting position. He was wearing light blue pants and a gray t-shirt. His skin was the color of the bark, so he blended in really well. Thank you very much for watching my video. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment down below. I will see you in the next video.